C. Bangs, who's going to talk about interstellar exploration through art. And you know, we invited people to come to this workshop, and people sent in their presentation ideas. I actually suggested C do this presentation. One of the things that that is exciting to me about working with C, and is just wonderful, because in the interstellar field, most of the people who are engaged and involved tend to be more on the technical side. You know, engineers, scientists, that kind of thing. And it's wonderful to be engaged with someone who thinks on the other side of the brain, an artist, and who has been passionate about space exploration and interstellar travel, and has curated international exhibits on deep space travel, art, produced some artwork that's hanging at Marshall, and has worked to illustrate and develop artwork for NASA projects. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing your presentation.
Thank you, Les, and thank you very much for inviting me. I come to this as an artist who was academically trained. I have my undergraduate and graduate degree in fine art, painting, sculpture, drawing. I didn't touch a computer until I met Greg in 1983, and then we started working together, and I learned a whole other set of tools, and it really, to me, is another set of tools. It's another medium. So, fine art. To me, one of the reasons, Carol, specifically, that it's important for humankind to think in terms of reaching out instead of all the reaching in that we can do, and we need to do the reaching in as well. But when you talk about how humankind can evolve, and I really feel that this is one of the very important ways that humankind will evolve, we need to continue to reach out, and space, of course, is a very important place to reach out to. I come to this through dialogues initially with my father, who was an engineer who taught at Cornell in an entirely different discipline, food facilities engineering. But one important summer, I went to Puerto Rico. He was teaching then at the extension program at Cornell University in Puerto Rico. And I had a trip to Arecibo, my first and unfortunately only trip to Arecibo. And when you talk about what humankind can do and enormous projects, this was really an eye-opener for me, and still is. So when I came back, that's ironically when I met Greg, and we jumped into talking about Arecibo and possibilities. In the beginning, we are, of course, all star stuff. We have within us ancient elements of stars, of initial stars, and this, in fact, is what I do when I do these. I'll back up a bit. Is I take imagery from public domain imagery online and combine it with my own drawing, painting, sculpture. So here is an evolved star sending out its elements to create a solar system, and my painting, my small painting of an evolved star. And Greg, by the way, another important background. What this is actually the result of about 5 years of work, starting with work that I did at NASA, and continuing up until several of the books that Les and Greg and ending up with a book, Paradise Regained, was our most recent three-way collaboration, which unfortunately never really made it to the bookshelves because of a bureaucratic foil. Before that, Living Off the Land in Space, talking about living off the land in space, how to work with what you have out there instead of taking it all on with you. And so my answer to this, which really was the book of my heart, because I do a lot of work with Earth-related concepts. So I happened to meet my most recent gallerist, Addie Rosenberg, who suggested that I self-publish. And this is a now viable art form. And there are many self-publishing places to go. This one was done in Louisville, which is not user-friendly. But it's now in the collection of the Brooklyn Museum. And combined the work that I did at NASA with Brooklyn. So Greg did the prose. These are my imagery. I got over the page down. Last page.
Oh, yeah, page down.
So seeds of Gaia, Gaia being the Gaia hypothesis, where all the earth came from, and going off and venturing into interstellar space. And this is only part of the book. This has the catchy title of Biosphere Extension, Solar System Resources for the Earth. This is the interstellar part of it. The diagrams are actually Greg's that I also incorporated into this imagery. And what I'm doing here, in addition to the public domain imagery and some of my work, is these are leaves that I created through actual picking up of leaves and then modifying the earth. Because we take the earth with us wherever we go. Early interstellar prose, already moving out of the solar system. We see these imageries a lot, and it's interesting. When we got married, our initial trip was to an interstellar conference. So I've been going to these conferences forever and seeing these images, and so it's interesting for me to put them into a form that makes them accessible to me and hopefully to others. The electric rocket with Greg's diagram. And what I also do when I'm working on this is I search for sort of a metaphoric visual language. And so in this case, the tugboat, having a metaphor is for being a tugboat in space. Locomotive of Cosmos, the iron drive. Solar thermal rocket, excuse me. This particular locomotive, I found a public domain image from a locomotive in Graz, which was fun. And later, the man who said that I might use that image, we sent a book to. Okay, unfortunately, these are not clipper ships, but I was going that type of ship. It really is a clipper ship idea, the solar sail. And and all these images to me, and all these concepts are actually very poetic and very imaginative, and also extremely hopeful images. And if any of you are at all familiar with the art world, you will know that it's not a particularly hopeful world, as are many, unfortunately, at the moment. It's a very cynical world in some cases. So for me, it's a real pleasure to meet a community of people who are thinking positively and in terms of evolution. Okay, one of the points that I'm making in Biosphere Extension is that there are riches beyond. We're talking about gold and diamonds, and they are out there, in fact, at such enormous amounts that it would probably depress the gold and diamond prices on Earth, but are very useful for building things in space. Leaving home, obviously we're not going to walk on the surface of Mars as Adam did on the Earth. However, I made that point with Greg. that we aren't there, and we will never be there. But again, we take who we are, our vulnerability, our fragility, and as we go out there, we are human, and take our humanness with us. And of course, leaving home, we're also searching for life. This is a concept that, again, is a very poetic concept. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to work. But it's an idea that you take your atmosphere with you. And perhaps there would be another way of having that happen. Take your environment with you, so that you protect yourself in your environment and move out. For anybody who's been to Aosta, this happens to be the Aosta Arch. And this was a piece that I did initially the first year I worked as a NASA faculty fellow, trying to find concepts to go with manufacturing in space and how to arrive at ideas about that. And the hand is actually the hand of my father that I photographed, and the connoisseur of the leg, and us going out there initially in a relatively primitive way, and then hopefully as we evolve and catch up with each other and catch up with our new concepts, we continue to go out there in a variety of other ways. The Medusa again. It was when I was trying to think of a way to talk about the Medusa, Greg and I went to the Museum of Natural History and took a look at what a Medusa jellyfish actually looks like. And this isn't it. If I had to combine the idea of bomblets going off to move it forward, this was my idea of how to do that. Nanoprobes, where Mr. Potato goes to space, and that they will continue to shrink as we continue to figure out the technology in order to do that. This is a real favorite of mine because Robert Forward actually was the reason that I got my initial funding to go to NASA, as he recommended me and the work that I did to us. And this is actually one of Robert Forward's designs that I took and manipulated and modified. And it's taking energy from the background with Greg's photons using Interstellar Art.wmv. Here are some of the diamonds and the gold in the asteroids that are coming at us, which are in fact laden with these heavy elements, light elements, chemistry from a whole variety of places. Greg and I, or actually Greg, did some initial research at CityTech, where he works, talking about what are the possibilities of asteroid diversion. And so we took another trip to the Museum of Natural History, where he's a Hayden associate, and they gave him a sample of the LEMV meteorite that, through the electron microscope, turns out to be a really beautiful and amazingly rich, mineral-rich object that's all around us. Hopefully will not hit us if we figure out how to work with it. The stepping stones, this is a master concept, and taken specifically from my work in my second year there. But right up here at the top is a cross-section of human DNA and us moving out on those stepping stones. With my first year at NASA, I had the great pleasure of doing my first and so far only hologram, a rainbow hologram, that I worked off the original message plaque, and the male figure, the female figure, our relation the actual payload, so that if anything could actually, if anyone was out there that we would encounter that would see the way we see, which is a great stretch, they would be able to see how we look, how we are, what size we are. And it was a really exciting project because we were, when we came with the idea, with the actual hologram, Les said, well, it's a great artistic piece. Well, it's artistic. But what we really need as well is the engineering possibility. So that was Greg's job to figure out how to make a hologram on the solar sail, which would actually be a thin film hologram that could, as a hologram turns on and turns off, as you turn it towards light, it would be like a sail, a regular sail, that it would be able to be propelled and then could stop or slow down, depending on its angle. More riches beyond. Again, the extraordinary, this by the way is the, this is in the Museum of Natural History. This is the, what the Native Americans call the sky beam. And it is a very large meteorite piece that is within the museum, and once a year they have a ceremony to honor it. Another solar sail concept, and the riches within the meteorite. Star folk returning to the stars. That's who we are, that's what we need to do. It's always an interesting, this is yet another art form that I do. I do DVDs that I put up on YouTube after we do the books to really explain and talk about what we're doing here.
Is that an amplification microphone?
No, it's just recording.
I don't know where to put it. And this is
That's not for amplification, right? It's just for the recording of the video.
Wish I remembered what I said.
Until a few thousand years ago, there were very few humans. With the dawn of agriculture, our numbers swelled. With population and lifestyle came pollution. Today, no terrestrial ecosystem is stable and safe. From space, Earth is a fragile living jewel. To live well, we require energy. The chemical rocket is our ticket to celestial riches. Rocket physics is the key to sun space. We have walked the moon, our robots have gone far beyond. The operational solar electric rocket improves on the chemical rocket. Pushed by sunlight, solar sails need no fuel. Tethers can be used to alter orbits. Such appropriate technologies can open the solar system. Our near-Earth asteroids threats or are they opportunities? We can divert them and we can mine them. cosmic factories can work for Earth. Pollution-free energy may be an early product. This solar energy can be beamed to Earth. Space sunshades may reduce global warming. Solar thermal rockets may open the space frontier. Terrestrial life will reach out and spread. If we choose not to advance, our alternatives may be bleak. Our robots already paw the starlight. We listen for ET's call. What will we learn beyond sunset? Will we tap unknown energy sources to reach the stars rapidly? Slowly or rapidly, God will start to see. We are star folk and we will return to the stars. Living in space will help us live on Earth. Space pioneers will live off the land. New art forms will flourish. A renaissance of the human spirit may occur.
We have time for any questions. Proceed.
You said you self-published that?
Yeah. Lulu is the self-published.
Do it, is it, it's, but on your website or?
Yes.
Over here, see.
So, all personnel.
I've seen a lot of your work, and I'm curious to what extent you try to use mythic elements from our past to suggest where we're headed.
A lot, all the time, because I think that archetypes are in fact extraordinarily important to who we are, and so I work with that a lot. Yes, thank you. Thanks for the question. So,
It seems like it'd be something really good for schools. Have you tried to get it to be used there?
no, but I'm certainly open to possibilities.
Seems like students would really like this.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.